Scottie Scheffler is back on the PGA Tour. Does that mean we're still betting Scottie at plus 400 numbers? Rory McIlroy also making his 2025 PGA Tour debut. It's all happening this week on the roundtable for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Will Gray's here to say, pump the brakes on these two. And Ben Everill's saying, plus 400, yeah, sign me up every week. Is that how it works?
Something like that, right? I've got to be opposite year from what I did to Scheffler last year. He smashed me all over the park, everywhere last year, winning everything that I said he wouldn't. So I don't know. He's back. We've got to figure it out. Let's get stuck into it.
I mean, this is not the first, not the last time we're going to see Scottie Scheffler in that plus 400 range. We're already looking at the WM Phoenix Open next week. You look at all the majors for 25. That's going to kind of be the Scottie Scheffler price that you're looking at week to week unless things change in a big way. I would say if you put a unit down last year on every start for Scottie at plus 400 odds, I think you were sitting pretty by Christmas.
Let's talk about the realistic expectations. If people out there really think Scottie can get it done, what are we looking at, Will, with a guy who cuts his hand on Christmas? We don't know how severe it was. What are we looking at recovery-wise and how he's going to have feel with his golf shots on every single hole?
I mean, there's still some unknowns in terms of the exact, ramifications of that injury and if there was nerve damage or what have you. I think that there are still some question marks when it comes to Scheffler, but also remember, we're seeing some of this footage from the Hero World Challenge. It's not like the guy has gone away for 6 straight months. He played and won about 6 weeks ago. And so I think that this is definitely a soft landing spot for him. It's a no-cut event. Granted, it's across 2 different courses, but it's a rotation that last year when this event was shortened to 54 holes, he finished T6. So in a couple of rounds across Pebble and Spyglass, he certainly showed that he's able to handle it. I don't think there's a course from here to Mars that he can't handle at this point. So I think that it's a very high floor for Scottie Scheffler. Like, could he have some rust to knock off? Yes. But is a bad Scottie Scheffler round better than a good round from maybe like 40, 50, 60% of a signature event field? I'd also say yes.
We hear the word surgery and we tend to panic, right? But there is such a thing as major surgery and minor surgery. And in this case, we're led to believe that, look, there was a little bit of potential glass fragments in a cut that was, very annoying and in a very bad place for a golfer. But they got those out, right? They got it out and he's swinging a golf club. He obviously thinks he's ready to go now. Otherwise, he wouldn't turn up. So with that in mind, it's not a Tiger Woods back fusion, right? It's not a scenario where it's something that we really need to worry about. That's why the odds makers have still got him at 450. Like if it was a back injury, knee injury, you might see 600, 800 as we bring him back in. But as Will said, I don't know if we'll ever see those prices, even when he starts slow. And this is the discussion I had. Last year it was all about, the number's too short, But it never really blew out until he was legitimately no chance in a tournament. and that's what we've got to deal with. So you have to be really confident that he's not going to perform well if you want to stay away.
So our Draftking segment this week is going to be a red light, yellow light, green light kind of situation with Scottie and actually Rory and Jordan Spieth. Without further ado, guys, 2 yellow lights on Scottie. What do you have to say about yourselves?
Yeah, it's approached with caution. I don't think I'm ready to sell my Scheffler stock at all. It would not surprise me to see him be in the mix. But as we said, there are questions that we need to see answered. I think that this is a setup of a pretty long stretch of golf for Scottie Scheffler. If you think of how many times he's hopefully going to be teeing it up between now and when he goes for 3 in a row at TPC Sawgrass in about 6 weeks, that he's going to have several starts. So this is level 1 where he's hoping to kind of get things back on track. But at the same time, would you be surprised, Ben, to see him in the top 10 this week? I certainly wouldn't.
Not at all. Look, after what happened to me, I said last year where I kept saying red light, I've come at things a lot more softly spoken. And again, the yellow for me is we've got short odds. We don't know everything. But if we see a glimmer of something in that first round, and like if he's 3-4 back and looks like he's not got that much rust, this could turn to a green one pretty quick. It does take him a few weeks usually in a season to get going, but only that. We would have seen him possibly play. We would have seen him play at the Century. We would have seen him play at the Desert. And we'd be saying by now, if he hadn't won either of those, we'd be like, all right, Scheffler's ready to kick it into gear now, right? So I think there is an element of getting himself through this week. I know he has unfinished business at the Phoenix Open next week, so he'll want to be as good as he can before that. And that's the caution for me. I think he'll have lowered the expectations on himself just a little this week, but he'll still want to kick it into gear, and his B game can win. Simple as that.
Second player everybody wants to talk about, Rory McIlroy, making his tour debut. He's clearly been playing golf on the DP World Tour, playing relatively well, maybe not for Rory standards. But Rory making his first 2025 start. His odds, Will, exactly what you expect them to be, about 11-1. That's basically what they were all of last year. Thoughts on Rory on this course? We know he's a golf course specific kind of guy sometimes. Thoughts about Rory this week?
How much will the Ball Frogs loss sting for Rory McIlroy? Yeah, they go down in overtime to Jupiter Links. It's a jarring defeat. No one saw it coming. Listen, other than the logistics that are involved, right? He had to fly late Monday night over Florida to California, so he may not have as much rest and prep as some of the other guys do in terms of on site at Pebble Beach this week. For me, I just have questions about, as you said, Chris, the course fit. I think of when, the greatest strength that Rory McIlroy has in his bag is the driver, and I think it's mitigated somewhat by the challenges that are presented by, Spyglass a little bit, but in a big way, Pebble Beach, where you're going to be playing 3 out of the 4 rounds. He hasn't had a ton of success at this event in a couple of starts, and I just don't know that this is really a place where it sets up to his strengths.
Oh. Oof.
There it is.
Really?
There it is. Yeah, I'm going red light too. I'll mirror exactly what Will said. I think that he's also a notoriously slow starter on the PGA Tour. You did mention that he plays and has won early in the year many times on the DP World Tour. He's coming off a 4th in Dubai. But for whatever reason, when he comes back to the States, he's a notoriously slow starter. Takes 9, 8 starts or more to get usually his first win in a season. And I just think that will continue. And look, you're getting that 11-1. It's not enough for me. It's not enough this early in the season for Rory McIlroy. There was the logistics well mentioned as well. All of those things add up to problems. Also, I don't necessarily think Rory fits the Pro-Am part of this. We haven't even touched on that. That slows things down. That takes him out of his rhythm. I don't think he likes that. And I think that'll be a problem for him as well.
Don't worry, folks. We will find something to disagree on because Jordan Spieth is the most polarizing golfer you could ever imagine, especially right now, Ben. After that wrist surgery, it was a big deal to people. It was an ongoing issue in 2024. Take Scottie's situation, those unknowns. Do we have unknowns with this? To me, it feels like there's more unknowns with this.
I said major, minor surgery. I'm not suggesting this is as bad as a spinal fusion, but it's definitely a bigger surgery than a cut in the hand, in my mind. Again, I don't know all the details. Don't know if there was tendons and stuff in Scottie's hand that we don't know about. But I will say that the wrist injury was bothering Jordan Spieth for a long time. And here's the key. He wasn't playing well before that. He's here on a sponsor's invite because he's won the event, and AT&T, a long-term sponsor of his. That's part of this as well that people forget. He didn't earn his way into this event after a bad year last year. So there are a lot of question marks for me. Easy to be seduced. Spieth's record at Pebble Beach, but not for me. Not for me.
So this is kind of fun, Chris, because I'm taking those exact same points that Ben laid out and I'm flipping them on their head because they're the exact reasons that I'm buying in on Jordan Spieth.
Oh, no.
Listen, first of all, if you're saying you ever know how to predict Jordan Spieth, you're lying.
Yeah,
I don't
right,
care.
right.
2013, 2021, 2025, whatever. Yeah. No one knows what's coming out of Jordan Spieth on a week-to-week basis. But there's reason for optimism this week because of where he's slotted in the odds, because he is down in that 60, 65-1 range. You look at the folks that are near him on the odds board. I'm going to trust Jordan Spieth a little bit more than those folks. But, Ben, you mentioned he was playing all last year with the wrist injury. It was bothering him. It was nagging him. People kept asking him about it, week to week, month to month. I'm not a doctor, but I think the goal of the surgery is to fix the problem. Hopefully the wrist is better. I'm banking on that. And as you said, he's playing this week on a sponsor invite. There's a little bit of an incentive. There's some pressure on him to back that up. He's an AT&T guy. He's a proud partner with them. He's won this event before. It means a lot. He has a couple other strong finishes at Pebble Beach. He's going to go out with a lot on the line to play well, not in the start of 2025, but to play well this week, right now, knowing that he needed a little extra help to get into this limited field. I'm buying. I think there's reason for optimism. Let's go, Jordan.
I'll take your money. Thanks. Send it my way. Look, I'll say this. If there is any wiggle room, it would be in the high place markets for that fight scenario that you spoke about. Look, he does want to prove his worth. He's not going to sort of be one of the guys that if he's in 60th position is just going to tread water and try to stay. He will try to climb the leaderboard over the final few rounds. So if you're looking at a top 30, top 40, you get a little bit of juice. Sure, I would have needed, he's 65. I would have maybe started to lean your way. Well, if I got to triple figures, 100, 120, that might have brought me over to it's worth a little bit of a look.
Look to the top 10s, look to the top 20s, look to the head-to-heads in round 3 and 4. Remember the no-cut format. I will give you. Listen, he's only won twice since that Open Championship in 2017. So banking on the outright is a bit aggressive, even as Team Greenlight over here. But there are ways, I think, to back Jordan Spieth effectively this week on Monterey. You
hit the nail on the head. Round 3, round 4. Head-to-heads, look at Jordan in those markets. You're probably going to have a little bit more fight than the guy he might be up against.
I'll just say anybody who is crunching the numbers on Spieth every week and what he could or could not do, you should probably just stop picking golf because
fool's errand. You're not going to know.
You are not going to do well. All right, we've
strokes gained, pixie dust, Chris. That's the answer.
We've talked about those three. Outside of Scottie and outside of Rory, here's your board without those two. I'm not saying this is a market without them. This is just the odds of the other stars. Justin Thomas, guys, just keeps getting talked about. Are we going to get to a point with JT where we're going to stop? I mean, does he have to start missing cuts? Does he have to start being terrible? Like, what are we looking at here?
This guy will probably win this week, and here's why. Because I've been talking him up having a big-time resurgence this year. Been talking about him winning early in the year, but I forgot to put him anywhere near my board all this week, and it's just come into my head right now that that's probably what's going to happen. That the week I'm off him, he'll do well. But I still think that he is trending to being back to his best. Right? He's showing us he had another good effort at the American Express. He's starting to get towards the old Justin Thomas. He's definitely a factor that you have to worry about. Played pretty decent here last year, I think, if I'm not wrong. But again, for me, he was another guy that I was looking at a week from now. So I sort of kept him off my radar this week. I don't know about you, Will, but I still think he's definitely, heading to big things.
Yeah, I think that he's trending in the right direction. I know during our 2025 season preview, Ben, you and I were kind of aligned when we were out at TPC Scottsdale that JT is a guy that we're going to target next week at the WM Phoenix Open. I think that's still the case. It's funny. I'm tilting to the other side of this graphic. There are 3 wins since 2024 among this group, and they're all with Hideki. The other 4 guys haven't won anything in the last year or so. So, I think the story and the narrative with JT is very similar to what it's like with Morikawa, what it's like with Patrick Cantlay. Certainly Ludwig Aubert is earlier in his career, but Hideki is the one that's actually lifted a trophy in the last 12 or 13 months. So I think that's where I'm going in my eyes and saying, wait, maybe he shouldn't be the highest of those odds, even among this A crop.
Now, you look in this A crop, go straight down the middle. Right, there's a guy there.
Exactly.
Aubert.
He's overlooked. I think he's overlooked.
Completely overlooked. He was 10-1 last week, and the chalk pick and a guy I picked, and I was sitting there chuckling when he was carving up Torrey Pines through 2 rounds, despite the wins and everything else. And then, of course, he got the bug. He got sick. He's throwing his guts up all over the joint. He's barely able to walk around Torrey South, which is hard enough when you're feeling good, but really tough if you're crook. Or sick, as you guys like to say. And I think that now because of the fact that he blew out to T42, people are forgetting that he was in great form for 2 rounds before he got just ill. I'm banking, obviously, that he's going to be better. He's feeling better already, and word is that he already feels better. He's getting his energy back. He's got all the way till Thursday. Remember, it finished on Saturday, extra day to recover. I think that Ludwig is being discounted, and I think that this is the guy who was runner-up last year, and sorry, Wyndham Clark, but I think would have won this event last year had it gone 4 rounds. Wyndham was brilliant with a 60 in round 3, but we've all seen it. How hard is it to back up a round like a 60 the next day? I'm not sure Wyndham would have been able to do this, and Ludwig was the guy ready to pounce. I think that he's going to be there and thereabouts again this week.
Will, let me ask you this, because Ben and I both have Ludwig as our winner. Are you more concerned about that stomach bug and the lingering effects, or are you still concerned about the wind issues he had, like everybody else, last week after starting really well and just crumbling?
Yeah, now full disclosure, I had Ludwig on my fantasy roster. I was very high on him last week, but I'm more concerned with Ben classifying it as he was in good position through 2 rounds. He had 1 good round on the other course.
Right.
and then didn't shoot better than 74 in 3 cracks on the South course. So yes, there was the weekend stomach bug. There was all the footage of him kind of doubled over. He was putting stuff up on his IG story that he was just in a tough spot, and I think everyone can relate to that. Maybe you don't do it in front of cameras and playing for millions of dollars, but everyone's kind of been there. So he had one good round last week, and then the wind kicked up on Friday, and then the stomach stuff, or on Thursday, and then the stomach stuff flared up Friday, Saturday. So I'm not ready to read into last week as that much of a success, given that one good round was on the easier course and all that stuff. And again, we're going back into a rotation this week. You're going to have to play 2 courses. So he's got the game as he showed last year to contend here, but I'm not reading into his Farmers performance with as much optimism as Ben is, and potentially you are, Chris.
I'm looking at it from another angle too. Where was his struggle? Where was his real struggle? And this is the other guy. I'm basically dialing it back, boys, because not only do I like Ludwig, but I like Jason Day as another outright option as well, which were my 2 guys from last week. They both were diabolically bad on the greens. The 3 rounds at the South course that were measured strokes gained, they lost 5 or more, I think, strokes in 3 rounds to the field putting. We saw Ludwig, 4 jack or 3 putt from like 3 feet at one point. I'm thinking part of that was just the way he felt, the lack of concentration in those key moments. So I'm counting on both of those 2 to keep their hitting going, keeping their approach game, hopefully being a little better off the tee in Jason Day's case, and then getting the putting game back to a level that it normally is for those 2. So that's why I think he can rebound as well.
Yeah, move close to the computer. I want to whisper this. They're still putting on POA this week. It's still going to be tough.
But
it's not a cure-all.
Slower. It's going to be slower this week because of the Pro-Am scenario until Sunday. It's going to be a different feel. And normally those 2 are good on POA, right, is what I'm getting at. They just had I'm banking on the fact that the 2 of them had a weird out-of-body experience on those greens last week, and they're going to dial it back in this week.
I want to wait before we go to Will's pick because we have to talk about Jason Day. I'm bringing this up out of the blue. I don't know if you guys read the email when I made my expert picks. I am choosing Minwoo Lee in their little mini market of the 4 players from Australia over Jay Day and over Cam Davis and over, who else is it? I'm forgetting who else it is.
It's probably Oceana. Is it Ryan Fox?
It's Oceana. No, he's not in it. I am picking him to win out of those 4. Can we make a side bet here? If Will wants to be the judge or the referee, side bet, Benny. Jay Day versus Minwoo. You can take the field.
Dude.
Ooh.
You take the field.
Minwoo, I'll take the field. Like, I'm just telling you.
3 guys.
I not only do I think Jason Day is going to contend, but he just fell off. I'm finalising the sleepers, which is long shots for the week, my column on the long shots. And the guy that just fell off, last one to fall off, was Cam Davis. I think that Cam Davis can be a place market guy as well. So Minwoo, not on my radar. Yes, he played in the desert, etc. I'm not necessarily convinced that he's at his peak right now. We'll see. We'll see. But
it's Adam Scott. Adam Scott's the 4th.
Of course, the ball frog. He's on his way over. Look, and that's another one. Adam Scott, I believe, like both Adam Scott and Cam Davis might have been in the top 20 here last year. And you're telling me that Minwoo's going to come out of the blocks and do it?
I am ready to just debate you. I'm the new Matt DeVecchio, and I'm ready to debate you. So when we get to Phoenix, Ben, we're going to be there together next week.
Why are you against Jason Day?
I'm not
why are you for Minwoo Lee? Leave Jason Day out of it.
So
I haven't had a reason to back Minwoo Lee in 6 months.
No, you haven't. I just think, Adam Scott, hit or miss. This kind of place, does he have that great a history here? I can't even
Justin
tell
Rose
you.
One similar player.
I'm not going to count that. Jason Day, he's played fantastic at Pebble Beach, and he's played well enough this year.
11 top 15s in 14 tries.
That constitutes fantastic. Let's move this along here. Jason Day, he's playing decent this year. He played well at the American Express when they're playing in a dome and a birdie fest. I don't necessarily think that those numbers, I think it's plus 150, say, let's make Jason Day plus 150. Yeah, Minwoo's not playing great. He's playing okay. He played in the DP World Tour 2 weeks ago. I think he was T17 or something like that. Yep. He's not playing terrible. He's a good player. Just because we haven't seen much from him, I'm just doing this more to irk you. So I want to make a bet. Because I kind of like it. You can have the field.
Here's the bet. He'll be 4th of those 4. There you go. That's what I'll pay you.
Yeah. All right, so Chris has him on top out of 4.
Two
Ben's
bets.
got him on the bottom, and 2 3s a wash. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. That's how we go with this.
All right. The other thing I wanted to bring up.
Minwoo, I'm gonna get a text or something from Minwoo just blowing me up. He's the type. I tell you what, if you wanna secure this bet,
Yeah.
if you send him a link to this, he will somehow not be last because I said he would be. He is a determined little bugger sometimes, and he will take that as a big challenge.
We'll figure that out after the show. You know what I also found funny, guys? So Colin Morikawa's played one event this year. I picked him. Will, you said that you had to wait to pick Colin Morikawa. We're now in his
I didn't
second.
wait very long.
We're now in his second event.
I did not wait very
You
long.
got it!
Because I spent all Century Week being like, man, I should have just picked him here. And then he went and played so well, and he gets overshadowed by Hideki Matsuyama. But everything on paper lines up with a guy who should have success here. He's a California guy. He won his PGA Championship at Harding Park in the NorCal area. You know, the ball striking, the approach game, everything you need for the cozy confines and the tiny greens of Pebble Beach. I lean towards Colin Morikawa. And I think that for me, it's tough with choosing between him and Cantlay, who's, of course, another of my frequent targets. And so I'm not emotionally ready to back Patrick Cantlay yet. But there's a lot of the same reasons. Cantlay, candidly, has a better record at this event than Morikawa does, but their skill sets are strikingly similar. And it is going to come down to the putter, as we were mentioning before with Ludwig and with Jason Day. Someone's going to have to tame the POA, and you're going to have to bank on these guys making some putts. But I think that Morikawa is going to give himself a ton of opportunities. I think that the market is still weighted down for Scheffler there at plus 400. I'm not buying in, as we said earlier, on Rory as second favorite. And so that means I'm viewing a little bit of equity in some of these mid-range guys, including Colin Morikawa at 14-1.
He just has to make enough putts. And that's what we're, again, talking about Ludwig, Jason, whoever it is, Colin. It doesn't have to be lights out, but it still does have to be enough. And Will makes a great point in that it's the smallest greens that there are out there on tour. You have to have enough opportunities. It's one thing to make 6-foot par saves because you've missed the green and you keeping yourself in it, but you are going to have to make some birdies. He's going to have more birdie looks than most guys, so I can see that part of it. Will, I can understand that, and I do think too that he probably would have played this event more in the past had it not been where it is in the schedule, the fact that it's a Pro-Am, etc. California boy, he probably would have played it more if not for that. And will he adjust okay to the slow rounds? We'll see.
We've been going a while, but I do want us to quickly touch on some of your guys' best bets or prop bets so the people out there can get some more information. Benny, you like Sam Burns. Why?
Look, our data crunchers at PGATour.com have come up with the way that they look at things, and they have a course fit tool now. And I've been kind of brushing it aside, like, I like my own research. I like to get into it. And Sam Burns popped on my radar for an option this week. And then I looked at this course fit tool for this week, and he's the number one guy, according to PGATour.com's data crunchers. So I'm going to give him a vote of confidence. Pressure. I'm going to say that he can do this. I'm going to put the pressure on them. They're sitting in there in the now lush confines of PGA Tour Entertainment, the studios. Before they were in some bunker somewhere in the dungeon, but now they're in their lush, great scenario.
They're on the third floor of Global, and it's very nice.
Yes, it's very nice there. They're getting soft serve ice cream like the rest of you there every day. And I'm going to trust them. I'm going to say, look, they've just gone straight. So I said, this is the data pick. Obviously, we talked about making putts. Sam Burns can make them. He was 10th there last year. He's also very good on approach. We'll mention that. And apparently, one of the big tools this week, according to the data, is that you need to be great off the tee on the par fives. And he's one of the best in the business in recent times in that regard. So let's give him a rap. Let's give him a chance. When Sam Burns tops 10 next week, you all need to go into there on the course fit tool and figure out who's on the top of that list.
Screen grab it.
So I've got a guy that is not number 2 on the course fit tool. He's probably up there pretty close, but might be the hottest guy in this field. One of the last to get in to the 80-man field. Remember that this is a limited venture, but Harry Hall, man, this guy's been lights out. He finished T21 at the American Express. That was his worst result since the Shriners back in October. It's been a lot of T10, T9s. Granted, they are not against the same caliber of field as we're going to see this week, although he was at the Sentry given his win at the ISCO Championship last year. So he's had a couple starts already this year. He's 10th in strokes gained total on tour, having made a couple starts. Again, small sample size. Some players have only played once. It's got a bunch of guys like Scheffler and Rory haven't played at all. But Harry Hall has already gone from 37th to 10th in total strokes gained. And I think there's some motivation of being in this event, and this is kind of a chance for him to level up. He was, as you said, one of the last guys to make it into the field. I think there's some motivation there. And, man, he's just been playing really well, and he carried over that fall momentum into the early part of the 2025 season, and I think there's still some value here. 600 at a top 10 finish. Again, only 80 guys. You got to finish in the top 10. I think that's a pretty good number.
When he gets hot around the greens too and on the greens, he's pretty decent, old Harry Hall. Fell off my list of sleepers late, and that's probably going to help you, Will, because obviously if I'd have put him on there as well, that would have been the kiss of death. So good luck, Harry Hall.
Minwoo Lee, we'll talk to you soon, and we will win this bet, buddy.
Let the man cook.
We will be cooking.